Hi everyone, so here is a video demonstrating the new Live Loops feature that is now with the newest version of Logic. So what are live loops? Well, there's been applications such as Ableton Live that have been an easier way for you to actually perform live with electronic music software. One of the problems with using a traditional DAW is that it has a linear timeline and it's not really designed to play in a live manner other than I start at the beginning and hit play and it plays through the whole thing. But if you want to be able to jump around, make choices, decisions, decide, oh, I want that section to repeat, that would be very difficult to do with a DAW because you'd have to click just at the right time to move the playhead to a certain place. Not really practical. So Ableton Live was created to allow you to basically trigger musical events whenever you want, or maybe groups of musical events whenever you want. So finally Logic has added this and they call it Live Loops. And the way that it works, or I should say the way that you can view this, is at the very top of the track list there's this new button that allows you to see different views. This button on the right, that shows our typical arrange type of view, where I would see things in a linear type of manner from first bar to the end of my piece. If I click on the one that looks like a grid, I can see then this totally different way of viewing it, where each bit of musical information is not a region anymore, it's an actual cell. Notice that each one of these cells is a square shape because that has nothing really to do with how long it lasts. Each one of these might be 1 bar long to 1 beat long to 8 bars long, 16 bars long, whatever. It doesn't really matter because they're just basically saying this is a musical idea that you can hear and pair it with anything else. I can also, as you can see, unlike Ableton Live, I can actually view both my live loops and my tracks view at the same time, that arrange view over there. So I've brought up a demonstration of how these live loops will work. If you actually start Logic Pro, you'll see some templates that you can bring up. This is not really a template. There's a whole bunch of these that are really more like demos of how you can use this feature. So I brought this one up and you can see I've got lots of tracks of instruments assigned and I've got various musical content. You can just see visually that some of these are going to be different just visually. This top track, this is essentially, so you know, this is an audio track because it's basically taking an audio wave file and then putting in a circle instead of from left to right, because it's just going to loop over and over. This next track has basically some dots on it or lines, and those, it means it's a MIDI track. So it's just giving MIDI information. So this is a combination of both audio loops and MIDI loops. Again, they could be recorded directly or they could have been brought in from a loop browser or any number of ways. Any musical content you want can be put into a cell. Keep in mind that none of these cells are necessarily placed with them being in mind of being in a linear order. In other words, this one doesn't have to come first and then this one and then this one. You could basically choose any order. So without kind of going through each of these sounds to hear it, I can just start kind of playing with this of triggering these events to start, and I can click any combination of these different cells to play all together. You'll notice that when I click one, it's going to pulse for a moment, waiting for the next downbeat according to how it is set over in the top right area where it says quantize start. You have lots of choices. Do you want, when you click on one of these, to wait till the next bar? Do you want to wait for 2 bars, wait for 3 bars, all the way up to 8 bars? Or strangely, even smaller values, like start on the next 16th note. That's kind of weird. But usually you'd have it on 1 bar, 2 bars, or 4 bars, or something like that. So let me just demonstrate. Okay, so I'm going to turn down the volume, but I'm going to keep it playing so you can see how each of these is showing like a clock, like a second hand, going around this loop, showing you when that loop is about to restart. And obviously you can see some of these are spinning faster. It's not that rhythmically they're faster, it's just that some loops are longer than others, so it goes through. They're not necessarily all starting at the same time because there are different lengths, but I can trigger whichever ones that I want. So again, this is a live performance thing that I can just choose whichever ones I want to start and pair together. Now also, because these can be stacked in columns, as you see, I could just drag stuff around and I can put it into a new column. But because they are in columns, I can even trigger down the very bottom. You see these arrows, and I could trigger an entire column at once. Let's bring the sound back up. Okay, so as you see, just you're randomly choosing various stuff that I might think, oh, sounds pretty cool. Now this is something that was already being created. So of course you in the compositional realm, you could create these cells one at a time, try different ideas, move stuff around, try different combinations, all really without ever stopping. And I'll demonstrate how to just record something in just a moment. Now the other cool thing is that if I like what I'm playing, but then I want to essentially have a final version of it, I've been trying different stuff, what it sounds like, but then I'm kind of like, yeah, I kind of like what I did there. You can record essentially your performance into the regular tracks type of a range area. So to do that, I need to bring up my track. So I click that button so I can see both sides now. I need to click this button above the top, which basically if I let it hover over there, it'll say enable performance recording. So I'm going to record my performance. Now I need to be in my track area. I need to hit rewind, need to turn off that cycle mode, and I am going to hit record up in the main transport to basically say start recording in that area. But what it's going to record are any of these things that I do, whether it's an individual cell I add or whether I do an entire column. So let's try something. Okay, so you kind of get the idea. Now notice it recorded everything, every change that I made. It essentially just turned those cells into regions over here. Now they're all grayed out because it's set right now to only play from this side, the live loop side. So I have two arrows at the top, just so you know. This one, the double-headed arrow, that's actually just saying, do I want to see these as wider rectangles or smaller squares? It's just a visual thing. This one though lets you decide, oh, I want to hear this side or I want to hear this side. However, when you put I want to hear this side and you hit play, you'll notice that it suddenly started playing these over here. So generally if you want to hear that side, you probably also want to just hide that other way. And now I can see an entire thing all taken from those live loops that maybe I recorded myself, maybe I dragged in loops again, but I was able to kind of create an arrangement just by trying different stuff. So really fun to do that. Now if I want to create my own stuff, so I'm going to go back to my live loops And let's see this one. I'm going to use this particular track. Now I'm going to solo it, so I don't want to hear everything else. And I'm going to create some just squares that are empty, and I'm going to record something. I definitely want to hear some click track stuff as I record it. So the way I'm going to record is I'm going to hit it. I'm going to see a countdown with that click track. And when I'm done with a bar, I want to click it again right before that bar starts so that it kind of knows, oh, you meant to end right at that particular point. Okay, so I'm going to stop now. So you notice a couple things maybe. When I clicked right before the bar, we didn't hear the first note played back when it started cycling. That's a weird glitchy thing. Don't know why, but in this first version of this in Logic Pro, when you first loop, that first note is never there, but it will be there after every other loop. It's just a weird glitchy thing, so just be aware of that. Also, you can, of course, do things like quantizing. So just like I would quantize before, I could click on this cell. If I have my inspector open, I can go to the top where it says cell. Usually that would say region and the regular tracks arrangement view. But it says cell now because these are cells, not regions. And I could quantize just like I would before. I could also, of course, set that to quantize before I record so that it's going to quantize while I'm recording. I could do that. If I'd made some mistake, I could double click on it and I could change, the position of where that loop is supposed to start, change a note, whatever. All, of course, while it's still playing back, so I don't need to stop really ever as I'm doing it. I only stopped to explain all that. But I could keep on going and just add a bunch of these cells of different ideas, and whenever I wanted to, I could start then combining them, create this whole arrangement, move stuff around. If I want to kind of pseudo arrange it into columns, that's all possible too. But ultimately, it's just however you decide to use that. So that's just a quick demonstration. You definitely could bring up some of those kind of demo live loop things and experiment with that first before creating your own, or just dive in and try to create those things. So have fun playing with that.